Good morning, Santa Rosa. Good morning, Sonoma County. I'm very grateful to be here. I didn't sleep very much last night, not unlike a 5-year-old on Christmas Eve. It happens to me every time I'm going to come to Santa Rosa. I find that I can't sleep the night before. It's not because of what I've eaten. It's just very exciting to come here. Well, you guys have a spiritual director that just rocks, you know. Dr. Edward, yeah. And he's so talented and handsome. I'm just glad he's older than I am. And if you're watching, you always will be. You know, I'm really moved by this spiritual community. I'm moved that you have created an environment wherein your spiritual director can actually take a sabbatical, where he can step away and recharge and renew. And I got to tell you that there are other spiritual centers in the area that are watching what you're up to, because we're learning from what you're up to. I want to give you a heads up. If you see me sitting over there in the chair later and you see me on my mobile device, I'm not texting and I'm not emailing. So you may want to pause the judgment for just a minute. Because what I'm doing is I'm taking notes, because my reason for being here is twofold. One is to explore spiritual principles with you in Dr. Edward's stead, and the other is to be a mole. Yeah, my people in San Jose have sent me here to steal from you. They send me here to take whatever I can, and so I'm already taking notes, and I've already been warned, don't worry, First Service already told me, I can take anything I want but Chris Fricci. Yeah. So I want to thank you for opening your space to me. It really means a lot to me. And I wasn't kidding. I didn't sleep last night because it really is, coming here is really like Christmas Eve. And the conversation I was having on my way here is, wouldn't it be wonderful if I was like this every day? Wouldn't it be? Can you imagine a world where at night you go to bed, but you can hardly sleep because you're fairly sizzling about what tomorrow will be like? Wouldn't that be a nice shift? So I have an intention, and my intention today is that you and I have an opportunity to explore something together, that we might explore that when we leave here today, explore what life will be like, that when we leave here today, we don't leave here changed, that we don't leave here better than we were when we arrived, that we don't leave here different than we were when we arrived. But instead, you and I leave here brand new. That we actually leave here a person that has never existed before. So the person who came in and the person who leaves is not the same. That you and I leave here so new that we face a world that is brand new, thereby making the possibility of being like a 5-year-old excited about Christmas is a real possibility. That can occur. Our topic today comes from the book, which name I've forgotten, A New Design for Living. I know, can you just hear Dr. Edward going, Bruner, stick to your notes, stick to your notes. But he's not here, I don't think. Do you guys know that he's my hero? I mean, really. I love that man. I watch him sometimes and think, is he real? You know, and he's consistent. He's kind, and he's smart, and he's authentic. And he means what he says, and he says what he means. I learn a lot from him. And the topic that he's given me is from a book called A New Design for Living. And the chapter is chapter 3. The chapter is called Don't Limit Yourself. And I read it several times, and I find it really beautiful. And I can actually summarize for me what I gleaned from this book, and these are the ideas I'd like to explore with you. There are 3 main ideas that emerge from A New Design for Living, chapter 3. And those 3 ideas can actually be summarized by one point, which I believe is the very basis of the science of mind and spirit, the very basis of New Thought, ancient wisdom, the very basis of our faith tradition, our philosophy, our faith, and our way of life can be summarized in this chapter. And right on the very first page of this chapter is the word that triggers it for me, and the word is hence. Whenever in Science of Mind we read the word hence, you know you're about to hear someone's view. Hence it follows. Well, in the book A New Design for Living is an abbreviated summary of something that really touches me and moves me and inspires me. It actually comes from the Science of Mind. It is my favorite quote of the Science of Mind text, and it comes from page 52. It's the last paragraph. It's a lower left page. Page 52 of the Science of Mind summarizes the chapter of this book that I was given. Do you want to know what it is? I'll tell you. Hence it follows that if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. I didn't write this. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. Did you get that? That is the Science of Mind. Hence it follows, if you believe that life cannot and will not work for you, then according to principle, it does not work for you. But even when it does not work for you, it's still working for you, but it's working for you according to your belief that it does not work. So even when things are not working, your prayers are being answered. Okay, you can leave now. After the offertory. You leave after the offertory. And the song. And I have a few more things to say. So the three elements that I gleaned from this chapter that are meaningful to me this week, that are something that I can actually use, are this. One, this week, you and I have a mission, should we choose to take it. And the mission is to remove superstition. Two, the cornerstone of freedom, according to Ernest Holmes in A New Design for Living, the cornerstone of freedom is to ask ourselves the question, now that you know, what are you going to think? And three, be inspired into action. So remove superstition, ask yourself, what am I going to think? And be inspired into action. That is the sole summary of this chapter as I've read it. So to remove superstition, it might be useful to be aware of that which we might have superstition. Some of us believe that God has a will for us that's already divinely planned, and you don't have much chance of getting out of it. Ernest Holmes, the writer of this particular book, he supposes that it can be used, this idea can be used like imagining a garden. He writes, if we plant weeds in our garden, weeds will grow. It does no good to plant weeds and wish they were flowers. Do you ever do that? Do you ever plant weeds and then you tell everybody how one day you will have flowers, or flowers may happen for you, or you really hope that there were flowers, or maybe flowers just aren't your lot, or maybe flowers aren't God's will for you, or that maybe someday if you tithe enough you'll get flowers. It does no good to plant weeds and wish they were flowers. There is a teaching metaphor we use in San Jose. It's kind of silly, and it totally makes me laugh because I really get how silly I can be with my spirituality and how superstitious I can get about it too. So the metaphor we use is, so I'm planting corn, and I'm planting corn, and I'm planting corn, and I'm always planting corn. My life is all about planting corn. All of my conversations are about planting corn. I'm telling everybody that I'm planting corn. I'm constantly planting corn, but I'm wishing I had watermelon. Right? I wish I had watermelon. I want to have watermelon. I have a poster of what watermelon can look like. I go to watermelon workshops. I have prayer practitioners pray for me to have juicy, ripe watermelon. And I'm planting corn, planting corn, planting corn. And then corn arises. And how could this happen? How could this possibly happen? Why has God forsaken me? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe I need to go back to unity. This is superstition. Hence it follows. I crack myself up. And there's another superstition that I really would like to get out of, and that's the one that like God cares for some of us more than others, and that there's only one true one through which God will do all of his communicating. Dr. Edward. You know, like Brother Jesus. I love Brother Jesus, totally love Brother Jesus. And I know a lot of people who are messed up on Jesus, totally messed up on Jesus. They don't want to hear about Jesus. They don't want to hear about it. Don't tell me about Jesus. And we're missing out a lot because there's some really good stuff that cat had to say. Yeah. But we can't really hear it because we have superstition about only through me can you get to the Mother, Father, God. Only through me can you get to the kingdom. Only through me, we're told in our culture. But if you really take into consideration the time wherein Jesus lived and the language with which Jesus spoke and the culture in which Jesus was living, you would be aware that when someone says in Aramaic the equivalent of only through me can you get to this thing, only by my example can you get to this thing. And what was his example? His example was so science of mind. He gave prayer, he gave thanks up in front. His prayers, as we read them, say Father, Mother, Father. I add the mother part because this is Sonoma County. Father, Father, Mother, God. Mother, Father, God. Spiritual principle. I give thanks that you hear me always. Some of our prayers might sound like, wow, I sure hope this is going to work, so here goes. Or, life, if you forgive me for stealing that button from Disneyland when I was 12, and then finally you see me redeemable, then clean me up this worm of the dust and give me my goods. That's not the way I read he prayed. Father, Mother, Principle, invisible, infinite, everything that I am grateful that you always say yes. That's the way you get to the thing. So getting rid of the superstition about Jesus is fantastic because there's some really good stuff there that we're going to miss because we're defensive about superstitions, we as a culture. And his name is, I'm doing it again. I'm not having a holy moment. I'm having a senior moment. It's happening more and more frequently. Oh, come to me, come to me. No, you guys are not helping. That's not helping. Guy Williams. Reverend Guy Williams. You're not clapping for him, you're clapping that I got it, right? That's because God, I'm holy enough that God finally said yes. Reverend Guy Williams was speaking at Asilomar at our annual denominational summer conference, and it was there that he spoke to the crowd saying, Jesus and I are finally good. I'm good with Jesus, and Jesus is good with me. And as I've evolved spiritually, and as the idea of Jesus in my mind has evolved spiritually, Jesus and I have decided to see other people. That's great, because we get to move out of superstition about what that means. And that leaves us open to all kinds of goodies that are going to appear from our Christian sisters and brothers, and our Buddhist sisters and brothers, and our Hindu sisters and brothers, and our Taoist and Buddhist and Islamic sisters and brothers, and our pagan and Wiccan and Episcopalian sisters and brothers, when we can remove the superstition that gets in the way. So the first element that's gleaned from this new design for living is to be rid of superstition. That's your mission this week, should you choose to take it. The second element is to, now that you know, to ask yourself, what will I think? Now that I know that even when it appears to not work, it's still working by appearing to not work. Now that I know, what will I think? There's a woman who wrote a blog on the science of marriage. Her name is Jocelyn. And Jocelyn is a therapist. And she writes in her blog about how she's really good as a therapist, and she's really great with people, and she's compassionate, and she's patient, and she's kind, and she's a good listener, and she's articulate, and she's really present for people, except when she gets home. And then when she gets home, she forgets all the tools and skills that she's learned in places like this. She doesn't apply them in her personal life at home. And she realized that she was being duplicitous, and she didn't want to be duplicitous anymore. Rather, she wanted to be in integrity. I saw that word in your affirmation. She wanted to be in integrity. To be in integrity is like the hull of a boat, a boat that has a little hole. Even a tiny little hole is not in integrity. And it doesn't mean it's like immoral, you're out of integrity. Yeah, you bad boat, you're out of integrity. No, it's like doesn't work. It's got a hole. So you plug the hole. So she decided to plug the hole, and to plug the hole for her was to be in integrity. To the way she shows up at work and the way she shows up in public is the way she's going to show up with her kids and her husband. So she developed this acronym that helps her, and the acronym is THINK, T-H-I-N-K. Think. Before she speaks, she thinks. She asks herself, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And if it passes that criterion, then she might speak it. It's not unlike the Sufi gates. Think, is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? Let me add a proviso here, please. We can be kind and still have very clear boundaries. Being kind doesn't mean being a pushover. And being kind doesn't mean you have to be open to bullies and bullying. You can be kind while you tell people no. You can be kind while you decline. And as my mother would say to my sisters, if you're going to say no and be a lady about it. I take that advice every day myself. It looks good on me, doesn't it? So a woman wrote, she commented on this blog, and the comment was that she was grateful that she had received this new acronym, THINK, so that she might practice it in her own life, because she needed something like it too, and she developed her own acronym, not quite as eloquent, but just as effective. This young woman's acronym is WAIT, W-A-I-W-A-I-T, wait. She says, when she's about to say something, she says, wait. And that is, why am I talking? Wait. Got it? Did you get it? Did you get that? Good. So remove superstitions and then ask yourself, now that you know, what will you think? Now that you know, what will you think? That leads us to the third. And that is really profound for me. The science of mind is not just a theory. It used to be for me. It was a great thing to talk about, to argue about, to debate, to get these serious matches about whether or not God is this way or that way, or what is really meant by a particular passage. Those were lovely conversations. But they really didn't impact my life a lot. They didn't help me while my heart was broken, or while I was scared or worried or frightened or frustrated or angry. Those ideas are not necessarily applicable until one puts them into motion. The science of mind for me means nothing unless it's generating results. The science of mind is meant to be used to generate results. And I was really moved in a seminar recently when the facilitator said to all of us in a room, not unlike this, he said, "You're not here for you. You think you came in here because you want to get something, but I promise you, you're not here for you. You are here for all those people who are in your life. You're here for those people you interact with. You're here so that you might be brand new in such a way that other people are touched and moved and inspired into action." And so for me, the science of mind is being inspired into action so that we might make an impact in the lives of other people. So I was saying to the folks about the folks from the Launching Pad, whom you'll hear from very shortly. The Launching Pad is one of the groups that you, Santa Rosa Center for Spiritual Living here, have gifted your financial support as one of the nonprofits, and your generosity is inspiring. I was mentioning about the Launching Pad that my generation, because when I look at them, they remind me, I'm now one of the elders. I don't know what to do with that. But I'm one of the elders, so I guess all I can do with this thing, thank God, considering the alternative. But I'm now one of the elders. And my generation is a generation that is excellent at protesting. We know how to protest and complain. We can pitch tents and occupy. And that's a great place to start. And it's a lousy place to stop. Complaining for complaining's sake is not sufficient. I'm watching the younger generations, like those folks from the launching pad. They're making an impact because they're generating results. For example, the generation even below them, a young woman named Rachel. Rachel's 12th birthday was on, Rachel's 9th birthday was on June 12th, 2011. But before her 9th birthday and 8th and 7th and 6th birthday, when she was 5 years old, little Rachel was moved into action, was inspired into action. She decided to generate results. See, Rachel heard about an organization called Locks for Love, or Locks of Love? What? Locks of Love? Locks for Love. Locks for Love. It's probably the same organization that Dr. Edward grew his hair, for which Dr. Edward grew his hair and donated it. So little 5-year-old Rachel, she heard about people who were growing their hair, cutting their hair, donating the locks to organizations that make wigs, and then they donate those wigs to people who are going through chemotherapy or other illnesses from which they've lost their hair. And a little 5-year-old girl was inspired into action to the point that she had her hair cut, donated the locks, and then committed that every couple of years or so she would cut her hair and donate it, which is what she did. In her eighth year, she heard from her church about an organization they were supporting called Charity Water. And it's a group that raises money, donates the money to organizations in Africa so that they might drill wells for clean, fresh water for the villagers of Africa. She, as an 8-year-old, could not believe that there were other kids in the world who had no access to clean water. So she was once again inspired into action. She signed up on Charity Water website. She created her own donation page. And then for her 9th birthday, she declined having a birthday party. And instead, she invited friends to come over for a Charity Water party. And she asked them, instead of bringing a gift for her 9th birthday, that instead they would donate $9 to Charity Water. Her goal was to earn $300. Well, at the end of her party, she had only raised $220, and she was disappointed, but she promised she would do better the next year. This was the 12th of June, 2011. On the 23rd of July in 2011, there was two big rigs collided on the interstate outside of Seattle, and there was a 10-car pileup. One of the cars in the pileup had inside of it 9-year-old Rachel. She was on life support in hospital when the Seattle News picked up the story about this 9-year-old who was so philanthropic that she gave up her birthday party to raise money for people she will never meet in Africa. People started donating immediately. The numbers were racing sky high, and the parents were watching stunned, and they kept whispering the results of the daily tally into the ear of their maybe unconscious daughter. They were very excited to whisper into her ear that they had just reached $47,544, and they whispered, "This is more money than Justin Bieber had earned when he was 17, knowing, of course, that she would be thrilled because she had kind of a crush on Justin Bieber. 3 days later, it appeared that Rachel was not going to be coming back. So the parents made the impossible decision, the impossible choice to remove their daughter from life support. And Rachel, I hear this, every time I hear this, I'm stunned that a 9-year-old can impact me like this. Stunned. She silently slipped over to the other side, but then the World News picked up on this, and rapidly donations started coming in because people like you and me, we don't know what else to do, so we give money. And so the folks watched as $47,544 quickly became $300,000, $800,000, and then about a year after the anniversary of Rachel's passing, it had reached $1.2 million. And Rachel's mother flew to Africa so she could witness some of the 1,000 wells that were being drilled in her daughter's name. And because of Rachel, because this 9-year-old was impacting the world by taking action, 60,000 villagers in Africa now have access to clean water because of one generous young little girl. So when I think about all of this in a new design for living in this book that you're studying this year, it's clear that hence it follows. If we believe that it cannot, then it will not. But even when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. And we can understand that we can give up superstition and we can start thinking and waiting before we speak, but then being inspired in action. And when we do, then it's possible that every night before we go to bed, we really are like a 5-year-old on Christmas Eve, because tomorrow is an impossibly beautiful day that has never existed before. A day in which, of course, you are brand new, because you're going to leave here today not better, not improved, not different, but brand new. And that makes me very happy. Let's pray together, shall we? Please move into prayer pose, whatever that means for you. And let's just accept with clarity all that's been set forth today through the music and through our licensed prayer practitioners and our hosts. Let us know that there's only one life, and that life is God. And that life is perfect. And that life is living itself and knowing itself as you right now. And even if before today you thought that there was no hope for you, today we can have a new thought, a new form of thinking in which that our generation, this generation here, this collective group, is not a group that is simply paralyzed by conversations and talking, but instead we are moved into action to actually prove the science of mind. And it shows up in the way we treat one another, the way we are managing our challenges, and the way we make breakthroughs from our breakdowns. Let us include Dr. Edward Fulyoun. Let us include your board of trustees and your staff and your leadership. Let us include the spiritual community that is the Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Rosa. And let us right now include the Center for Spiritual Living in San Jose. May they know right now how deeply grateful I am that they loaned me to this particular group so that I might be here and that I might leave here with my bags full of stuff that I stole, for which I'm grateful, and so it is.
And now we move into our time of giving. I invite the ushers to stand, and as each of us takes our offering in hand, we have the opportunity to say together, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and prosper. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. Thank you, ushers, for receiving our gifts.